Hello, fellow Pops. I'm Dr. F Scott Feil, and I'm bringing you a message from our sponsor at Ice Shaker. My diet's always been a little bit messed up most of my life, and I recently started trying to take back control of my health. And one of the issues my doctor pointed out was that I needed to make an increase in my protein intake. Now, I can't eat chicken breasts all day, every day, so protein shakes and powders have become a big help. Ice Shaker and its built in removable agitator is an amazing product. They come in a bunch of sizes and colors, and you can even get inscriptions and logos on them. They're stainless steel, double wall insulated, and hold ice for 30 plus hours. If you're interested in purchasing one, you can click on the link in our show notes. Or if you're interested in selling them for your business and making commission, and let's be honest, if you're listening to the Professors of Profit Vlogcast and you can consider yourself a pop or a professor of profit, you're likely interested in selling these as a side hustle. You can click on that link in the show notes as well. Or you can reach out to me directly on social media. I'm pretty available there. I love Ice Shaker, and I'm betting you, your patients, and your clients will too. Ice Shaker, let's shake things up. Now let's start the show. Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Professors of Profit Vlogcast. I'm your host, Dr. F Scott Feil, and I've got with me a longtime friend and prior guest of my other podcast, Jamey Schrier. So I love catching up with this guy because he's a wealth of knowledge when it comes to business in general, and he's been doing it in the PT world for quite some time. So Jamey, tell us a little bit about yourself and what you're up to these days.
Well, Scott, I appreciate the fact that we were able to reconnect after a little bit of a hiatus and at the recent CSM, and that was kind of fun hanging out with Jimmy and his party.
Mm-hmm.
So glad to be here and share some things. What I've been up to? Well, it's funny because I've now been in the business coaching world for 10 years. 10 years.
Time flies when you're having fun, man.
Oh my God, this is a lot of fun. It's been 7 years, 2016, 7 years since I sold my practices. I mean, that seems like almost yesterday, but then again, it seems like a lifetime ago. It's been 8, perhaps 9 years since I treated a patient. I mean, I don't know if that's good or bad. Good for me. But people still ask me, I can't believe you're not treating anymore. I go, that was 8 years ago. There's a lot of talented people out there. And right now I've been focusing on, really building my business, Practice Freedom U. And I've increased my private clients. So I take on some private clients. And I've been focusing a lot on that, learning a ton. Just recently had my 67th workshop. So we do a workshop around practice growth, practice freedom. We call it practice transformation workshop. So my 67th workshop, my first workshop was back in 2014. I had 3 people. I had a physical therapist, a nutritionist, and a chiropractor. And we sat in a room for 2 days and I basically free flowed. And that was some of the most fun times. So that's what I'm up to.
Awesome. Awesome. Yeah, man. I mean, you know, we like to kind of talk about this stuff because I think nowadays more than ever, physical therapists in particular, we're in such a bad situation with the debt to income ratio that physical therapists are having to start their own business or start a side business or a side hustle or a side gig or whatever it may be because, the normal 9 to 5 clock in, clock out therapist may not be cutting it anymore. They may not be able to sustain, you know, a regular lifestyle and keep a roof over their head and pay their student loans, right? So I think it's important for people, even if they're not going to start their own business, they at least have to have a little bit of business acumen, right? They need to know, how contracts work, perks to consider, red flags to run away from, things to lean into, questions to ask, just to be more knowledgeable about if they're going to take a job with somebody or something like that, right? And I think, we kind of talked about this before we hit the record button, but like businesses are more alike than they are different, And so I think there's some major business fundamentals that we need to recognize What are some of the big fundamentals that you think, people should consider when starting a business?
Yeah, okay. I want to touch on something before I dive into kind of mechanics and
Yeah,
specific. I mean, heck, with chat GPT, you could just type that stuff in anyway.
yeah, right.
I recently did a little stint on that, but I think there's I remember going to a Graham session. You might have been there a few years ago, and I wrote down a couple of notes. And I don't write a ton of notes, but I took down this, and it said that there are two big bubbles about to come. This was pre-COVID, and one was the academic bubble, the higher education bubble, and the other was the healthcare bubble. And I don't know if they're here yet, but school is considerably, what do you call it, the debt ratio, like
Yeah,
what it costs to go to school and what you actually make coming out of school is just ridiculous. I mean, it just there's such a disconnect between that the real people, the people that are running these schools are just charging more and more and more students to come, but higher education is supposed to give you a leg up.
yeah,
And the research that I've seen is that's not necessarily the case in most professions. So that's one aspect, and then the other aspect is healthcare. I was listening to a podcast with one of my mentors not too long ago, and he talked about, in so many industries, the microchip and having digital and internet and technology has improved the efficiency and has brought costs down. I mean, you look at TVs, you can get a 50-inch flat screen. They're giving them away, literally. Here, you buy this TV, we'll just give you this TV. And yet, healthcare, with all the technology, with all healthcare is more expensive now.
yeah,
More expensive. So the biggest challenge I think we have in the PT profession is we're getting double hit. So we're getting hit with the higher learning institutions of how much it's costing. Then we get into a field that is capped. And I think that many of us are not aware until it's too late that that's the case. Yeah, we try to fight it and all that, and good luck with that. You can spend all day long on Capitol Hill trying to fight the inevitable, but that's a really big issue of how we are capped because of third parties. Things are so much more expensive. To run a business is so much more expensive. The technology that it's supposed to make things faster, easier, simpler. I was talking to a client today, and I won't mention the EMR system, but he was like, I pay money to this EMR system. It's supposed to give me all these reportings, and I got to spend like hours trying to figure it out. And I go, what happened to the user friendly? I mean, thank God Steve Jobs came along and made a nice, clean, easy to use interface, or you'd still have to use code to be able to figure out how to interpret some of this computing and stuff. So I just kind of wanted to start with that, is
yeah.
that we are in a really tough spot. If I wouldn't want to be a young person going to school and then coming out all bright-eyed and bushy-tailed with massive loans and then saying that my max is $80,000.
Yep. Yeah, you hit the nail on the head. Unfortunately, I am in both of those bubbles, teaching in higher education and working in the world of physical therapy. So I'm seeing how that's, playing out right now, and it's not good. I mean, the CSM stat last year was the average physical therapy student comes out with $154,000 worth of student loan debt, and like you said, the average starting salary runs around 80 to 85,000. So you do the math; it's not going to
Yeah,
work out. It's not
and
sustainable. And
that's going to get worse
yeah, yeah, reimbursement's not going to
because I
suddenly
mean, like
turn around.
schools, unless you go in state, yeah, schools are 50,000 minimum. So that's 200,000 before you even go to PT school.
Yep. Yeah, it's not good,
That's
man.
that's
So
insane, man.
that's why it's going to take people like you and I to solve the world's problems, right?
Well, I don't know about the world's problems, but I am going to certainly try to help impact, people that are moving into business, I think all of us need to have a business mindset. Whether you're an employee or not, you have to understand how business works. You have to understand the business of physical therapy and realize that, you are your own corporation. Wherever you work, you're your own corporation. You take your experience, you take your skills, you take your certifications, whatever it is, you take that wherever you go. And frankly, the way the people are jumping around now, you're not typically at a job for too long. So you have to look at, first and foremost, how can I increase my value? I mean, that's what this is all about. I mean, every service, every product in the world does one thing. It creates value to someone else, period. It creates value. If it didn't create value, there would be no product or service, or there wouldn't be a company delivering that. So every product or service solves a problem. That's an interesting way of looking at things, because as physical therapists, we are solving a particular problem for a particular person. Now, many of us can solve a lot of different problems for a lot of different people, but just even thinking about that changes how you view a patient and how you communicate to a patient, how you communicate your value to a patient. And I think that's important to understand more, because we're so smart people, but sometimes I think the smartness, not sometimes, many times, that intelligence, that IQ intelligence gets in the way of seeing kind of what's right in front of you and overcomplicating and making it, you procrastinate and create this perfectionist nature and speaking this idealistic perspective, and it doesn't connect with the company you're working for, and it doesn't serve you, it doesn't serve the patient. So I mean, we could dive into that, and I can certainly talk more about some of those principles.
Yeah, I mean, paralysis by analysis, right? We overthink it, we overcomplicate it, we make things tougher than it really needs to be. And I think you hit the nail on the head in that you are your own corporation, especially nowadays. It's your reputation and your brand, and that's what makes up you and the service you deliver or the problem that you solve, no matter where you're working, whether it's for yourself or for somebody else. So I think that's a very important point and a key takeaway there. But what are some of the other big takeaways you think as far as business principles to think about? Because you've already hit two or three big ones there.
Yeah, I think the one thing that we have to have the skill to do, and it's a skill, you can learn it. I don't know what word you want to call it, so I'll just call it what it is. We have to learn how to sell.
Yeah.
We have to learn how to sell. When you're at an interview, you're selling yourself for that company. Well, nowadays, they're mostly selling you, and you're just picking and choosing whoever you want to work for. But there is a sale being made. When a patient calls the office, there is a sale being made. Even if they're referred by someone, there's still an element of a sale. When a patient comes in for their initial evaluation and you communicate a plan of care, there is a sale being made or a sale not being made. To go back to my favorite movie, Glengarry Glen Ross, it's like, either they're selling you, no, this is a Boiler Room. Either they're selling you on, either you're selling them on why they should buy it, or they're selling you on why they shouldn't. But there's a sale being made. And I think we need to lean into that instead of run away from it. And too many times I hear, working with hundreds and hundreds of practice owners and speaking to hundreds and hundreds more than the people I work with, is, well, I don't like sales. And I'm like, you're selling every single day. You have kids, they sell you every day. And either you're buying it, giving in, or you're not. So the more you can embrace this ideal of sale and maybe reframe it, reframe the idea that you are providing someone, you are persuading someone to do something that is actually good for them. You believe this is good for them. Then it doesn't look like a sale anymore. It looks like you're just doing what you're supposed to be doing, which is providing a recommendation, persuading them of why it's good for them and how it's going to help them achieve what they want. And too many times, Scott, we focus on our needs only. I mean, we're so self-absorbed, and I can get going with the whole world and social media and all that. We're so self-absorbed that our true purpose is truly here to help others. It's hard to help others when your focus is on yourself. And I think that's where a lot of the problems come in between employees and employers and the conversations. I teach my people, you're there to support and help your staff to become successful. That's why you're there. If they're not successful, you cannot build a team and you cannot grow your business. You're trapped. And the same thing with the employees. Your job is to support and encourage and persuade your patients who don't want to be there. Trust me, not one person, unless they really have nothing to do, wants to be in physical therapy. So you have to give them a reason of why doing this, paying the money and sacrificing the time is worth it to achieve what they want. And I think if there was more, and I know, and you can speak to this, I'm sure, there's already so much thrown at these kids in their 3-year program, that the business stuff has to come on their own. But I think that's a huge point that we have to even take it upon ourselves.
Yeah. Well, so you touched on a lot there and some great principles. I always like to refer people to Sell is Human by Daniel Pink, right? Good book. Basically, just like you said, sums up that everything is sales, right? In our lives, we're selling all day, every day, whether you want to call it that or not. And I think, one of the big takeaways for me there was like, all right, a lot of what we're doing, whether it's selling a plan of care or whether it's selling us to our new, possible future employer, it all kind of comes back to helping people make better, more well-informed decisions, right? That's what we're trying to do if we're trying to truly sell, not like in the used car salesman way, but like you said, reframing it and restructuring it. How can I give them the best possible picture so that they can see the benefits to what it is that I'm trying to pitch them on, right? And I think the other big takeaway for me too was like, like you said, a lot of sales and not doing it in a sleazy car salesman way comes with coming at it from a servant's heart, right? I mean, you've got to want to give and be there. And I think most of us got into healthcare because we want to do that. We care about people, right? We want to help get people better. And the world of physical therapy is great for that because we get, to spend a lot of time with our patients and help them get better, and the more that you help, the more that you can help people solve their problems or be the answer to their question, the more the money starts flowing. It's almost like it's a byproduct anyway, right? So I think that's, a key pillar there for business is you've got to give. And then eventually it all just kind of starts working out, right? Word of mouth starts picking up and, business starts picking up, and it's a really good feeling at the end of the day. You can put your head down on the pillow and go to sleep every night very nicely when you know that you helped a ton of people, at the
Yeah,
end of the day.
I mean, look, you're absolutely right, and um, there's nothing wrong with making money. I think sometimes I don't know, have some deep-seated money blocks, some issues. I know I had for many years. There's still demons of mine that I address, but I've lifted the ceiling a lot. And it's funny, you lift the ceiling on making more money and you make more money. And, there's nothing wrong with making money. And if you have some issues with making money, you'll sabotage those issues, right? You'll create an upper limit, ceiling. And I think that, I believe there are no victims, right? I just don't believe in that. I just don't have that mindset myself. And I think that if we take ownership, whoever's listening to this, if you're a young person, if you're an employee, or maybe want to be business owner or side hustle, whatever, the first thing you have to, say to yourself is, I'm no victim, right? So if you're no victim, then you are responsible for you. Now, yes, if you believe in going on Capitol Hill and fighting, and that's something you're passionate about, go for it. But look, insurance companies are for-profit institutions. I'm not there to support them, and I have no dog in this fight because I think they're pieces of crap as well. But as far as what you can do, you can take responsibility of you. So what does that mean? If you want to make more money, you want to pay these loans, become more valuable. What does that mean? Yes, you can increase your skills and you can learn more technical information. You can learn 42 different ways to treat someone's back pain. That's fine. But is that more valuable? Well, if the insurance company isn't going to pay you anymore, and that's the model you're in, then chances are it's not more valuable, at least not to the person that's paying you. So how could you be more valuable? Get out of yourself. What would be more valuable to the place that you are working? And do they appreciate that value? If the place doesn't appreciate, you can bitch and complain, or you can find a place that does. So if I'm a business owner and I get someone that says, I really like what you stand for, I like what it's about, and I want to engage, or I am engaging more in, let's say, some marketing. You and I were talking about marketing or social media. So not only am I a very good therapist, but I also like doing some social media posts, and I'm able to do that as well. Well, now you're more valuable than someone that just does therapy. So now you can, in essence, deserve more money. Or what if you're really good at getting patients to refer family and friends? Like, you are really good. You're so good at what you do. You're like the word of mouth maven. Like, you can turn anybody into a raving fan. Like, are you kidding me? Who wouldn't want that person? I would pay you not only a great salary, but I give you a bonus for every single person you come in, because I know how expensive it is to market and bring on a brand new client, and you can do it like it's nothing. So you're always looking at, how can I provide value that increases my ability to generate more income? And the first question you have to ask is, am I in the place that can do that? Some places have no interest in that. Some of the systems that you're in, some of them maybe the hospital or whatever, that's, you know what, just do your job and that's it. Some places, definitely private practice, especially the good ones, want that. They want something more. So that's, Scott, that's just kind of one thing that always kind of stands out with me is too many people I talk to, and I work with a lot of teams and employees and do leadership. There's a little bit of that victim mindset that I think slows people down and prevents them becoming more valuable to other people, which increases your resume to become more valuable, which then attracts more money to you.
Yeah, you hit the nail on the head there. I mean, most of the issues that I run into when I'm coaching business stuff is mindset. It's either money mindset, or it's imposter syndrome, or it's, just not being able to see the forest from the trees and not knowing how to increase their value. So I think leverage becomes a huge one with me, where it's like, hey, leverage your degrees, leverage your experience. Life experience is huge. You don't always need credentials to become an expert and authority. Sometimes it's just leveraging your past life experience. So, once you can get out of your own way and kind of clear your mind of those barriers and those blocks, then business becomes easy. Then it's just some of the technical stuff.
Well, when I was a year out of school, I'm going way back when now. When I was a year out of school, I was working at a hospital when I first got out of school. And I was bored after 3 months. I was like, is this it? It was an acute care hospital. And I was like, all right. So I started moonlighting. If you're old like me, Scott, you call it moonlighting. Now it's side hustle. So I was moonlighting, and I think everyone should do this. Everyone should have a side hustle that requires them to have to sell their services for money, right? No one gives it to you. And that's what I learned during that is I basically had a table and a chair. So I was, I guess pretty decent at manual therapy, although I didn't have a ton of skills, but I had more skills than they had. And I was able to connect with them and all that. And I learned actually how to sell my services for them to pay me money. And it was just eye-opening, right? It was just a great skill I was learning. Not at the time, I didn't realize it. But what it did was I started having like 2 or 3 patients a couple times a week. I mean, that's like big money. I was charging like, I don't even know what I was charging at the time, like $75 or $100, which was, that was big money 20 years ago. So I was making, an extra few $100 like a week. I was like, man, this is awesome. Work ended at 4:30. I worked till 7, still didn't miss anything, 7:30. But what it taught me is this: I will never be without, because I have a skill that I can sell that helps someone else to provide for myself and my family. And I think the more we become self-reliant, doesn't mean you don't work for someone, but you still work for someone with maybe a partnership attitude. In other words, I want people that work for me even now. You're a part of this company, right? You're a part of this. I want you to take pride in what you're doing, because those people stand out. The people that just show up, do the bare minimum. I mean, yeah, with the way the market is now, yeah, you might have a job and make some money, but you're never going to flourish, because it's just people, that's not what people are looking for.
Yeah. And, I was able to present this year at CSM on an entrepreneurship model, which, is kind of like starting a little micro business within another business or so, especially within private practice, right? And I think it's that same kind of thought process of like, hey, we're going into this as a partnership. I want you to thrive and succeed, because then my business thrives and succeeds, but then you do as well, right? And there's other side benefits to that with, keeping happy employees longer and retaining them, et cetera, right? But the moral of the story is like, you know, I feel like we're at a point now where you've got to thrive, you've got to push, you've got to want to be more and do more. And that eventually will lead to other opportunities, right? Whether it's starting your own business or not. But it's also, it gets you to a point where you're like, okay, if I can just push a little and do some things that are innovative and try, and it's not about grinding out 80 hours a week, right? It's still trying to work smarter, not harder, right? But at the same time, if it's something that you truly care about and you are invested in it, you're naturally going to have motivation to do better and to do more. And the more money we can make, again, going back to that, profit is not a bad thing, right? Money's not a bad thing. The more money you make, the more you can then do what you want to do with your time freedom now. Because if you want to treat people pro bono and help out people who are less fortunate and can't maybe afford cash pay therapy or something like that, you can take off a whole Friday and do that because you made so much money Monday through Thursday. Now you've got enough money to have time freedom and say, hey, I take Fridays off. I'm going to go treat pro bono, whatever. There's a lot of situations like that. For me, I used to do a lot more volunteering, right? My whole dissertation was on service-based learning. And I can't do that anymore because my time has just become so much more valuable and I don't have as much of it. I'd rather spend time with my family, with my kids, doing things we love. And so as they grow and as I get less and less free time, I don't have the time to volunteer. So as I make more money, I'm able to donate to those causes that I feel are worth it, right? So I'm at least able to give my money and give some sort of value to those, you know, those places that I can't volunteer at anymore. So I think that becomes important too. Is
And there's always the heartstrings, but sometimes I think the heartstrings is a easy way out.
Yeah.
It's an easy way out to say, yeah, but I just want to help people. And then 2 minutes later, you're grinding the person that you're working for more money. So you're fighting your internal battles. I want to show you something. I don't know if people can see this, but you'll prove this. What does that say?
Let's see. I have no idea. Whoever said money can't buy happiness was wrong. Yeah, right. Yeah, it can't buy happiness, but it can buy a jet ski, and that's kind of fun.
My wife sent me that yesterday. And we're doing some things to our house and we bought a couple things, and money affords you opportunities. And those opportunities can lead to things that you enjoy, that can lead to happiness. Now, of course, happiness is an internal thing. It's a being thing. So it's not going to fix your unhappiness, and it isn't just more of a dopamine. But look, I don't know where this is taught. I know you ain't teaching it in your program, but I don't know where this is taught. Like, if I'm broke, I'm a good person. Like I've dove in deep with this kind of stuff. You can be a good person having money, and you can be a good person not having money. You also can be an asshole with a lot of money, and you can be an asshole with no money.
Yep.
So that is all about who you are. But the reason our profession struggles the way it does is because few people in our profession actually have any money. And we all talk about, oh, no, we're doing this, we're doing that. And then, of course, when we need money to lobby against something, when we need money to build buildings or to advance stuff, who do we go to? We go to the same few people that actually have, built something, the entrepreneurs that have actually taken the risk and risked it all and built something. So we need more financially successful people.
Yeah.
Because I'm not worried about who you are inside, because I haven't met too many assholes in our profession. What I meet are people that are broke, that are struggling, that are beginning to buy into this victimization type of thing instead of, look, there is endless opportunities right now. There's endless people. There's 342 million people that all have bodies that break down. Last time I checked, that's kind of what we do, most of us. So there's not a lack of people that we can help, that we can support, and we can benefit. So one of the things that I discussed when I spoke in my workshop the other day was be fantastically selfish. Fantastically selfish. Don't just be selfish. Be selfish in such a way that you are doing things and building things to support you. Because when you're in a better place mentally, physically, and emotionally, you will be much greater at creativeness and helping others.
Yeah.
When you are not in a good place, and you're not going to show up the right way, and you're not going to connect with people, and you're going to have arguments with your staff and your spouse and your family and everybody else. So we have to be selfish because we're the most important person. If we can take care of us, Scott, then the next group of people, business wise, is then you take care of your team and support your team and help them become successful and help them be fantastically selfish. And then they can help their patients. So who's the most important person in this whole world? Is you. Take care of you.
Yeah,
Don't
you can't fill from an empty cup, right? It's the oxygen mask example. Like you got to put your oxygen mask on first, or else you're useless to everybody else, you know?
But
So
Scott, I feel bad. I can't say no. I just want to help others. I mean, that's the stuff that I hear. And it's like, you know what? Get over it. Because you're going to stay in a bad place, assuming that you want to grow. So growth is all about change. Growth is all about getting out of our comfort zone. I mean, I can't tell you how many times I've grown and grown and grown, and I continue to do so because there's still stuff I'm working on, a lot of stuff. But that just doesn't happen magically. We have to work at it just like we did in school. So it's not like we're not capable of doing it, we're not smart, but somehow I think we feel like we're done. We get out of school, and then it's really about increasing our clinical skills. Well, everything I'm talking about really has nothing to do with clinical skills. That's the part we have to spend more time and energy investing in.
So we started a group here at St. Augustine, which is the Business Entrepreneurs and Private Practice Student Special Interest Group, because we don't have enough time to teach a lot of this stuff in the curriculum because it's not on the NPTE exam. And so, we had to fit it somewhere. So I said, the heck with it. Let's just start a special interest group. And it's
Nice.
not just about private practice. It could literally be starting an online t-shirt business or whatever. Because again, we go back to business principles and how they're, mostly alike. The hope is that this group will give students the opportunity to either start their own business, right, once they're done, or at the very least understand it. Again, coming back to business acumen, right? So we do need more financially literate and business savvy, or people with business knowledge coming out of physical therapy school. Otherwise, we're going to run this profession into the ground. We really are. And so that's one of the things that I've kind of chosen to kind of take on and do a little bit more research on, and just see what we can do to help move this along and move the kick the ball down the field a little bit, because we've got to change something, or it's bleak. It's dim outlook.
Yeah, yeah. We can't use an antiquated model and start blaming everybody that's already way ahead. I mean, healthcare, when it comes to technology, when it comes to grasping some of this, is way behind the eight ball here, way behind compared to other professions, other industries. So yeah, I think I think what you're doing is fantastic. I mean, that's how you change it. You change it with the younger folks coming up, and not just saying the same old thing, and realizing that with the advancement of technology and the fact that healthcare is kind of low in adopting technology, there's a lot of opportunity out there. Yes, skills are important, but with automation, with AI, anything that can be done not with a human will be done not with a human. Now, could I do dry needling and no one's ever going to be able to do it like me? That might be the case. But think about some of the other things, even already happening right now. You see, the competition isn't the person down the street. Competition is, the online resource. The competition is stretch labs. Why didn't a physical therapist come up with that? We're amazing at stretching and all that kind of stuff, because we didn't have the thinking that goes into how do I create something that people want. We went, yeah, but that's not the best way to do it. You need to do myofascial. You need to have all these tools. And the reality is, if you want to start any type of business, you start with, well, who is the people you want to serve? What is the thing that you feel you have a understanding of, a passion for? What are the challenges, the struggles, the worries, the concerns that that particular group has? And what is it that they ultimately want? And it goes far beyond they want to get out of pain. It's much more than that. And then the only thing that you have to come up with it, so what's the solution for that? What would they have to write a check for to get the solution to that problem? That's business.
Yep.
Here's the audience. Here's the problem they have. Here's the solution I have. Here's the result they get. And it's not much more complicated than keeping it in those broad strokes to then start diving in, well, how you would do that and all that. And I think sometimes even with some of the digital marketing and stuff like that, we dive so into the mechanics of things. Digital marketing is changing every single day. The minute you figured out one thing, and the algorithm changes. We have to realize what we're trying to do. We're trying to connect people. We're trying to connect and have relationships with people. However we're supposed to do that, we're trying to help them solve a problem so they can get something. We need to get better educated on that. And there's so much out there that we can do this while we hold down a full-time job. That's your doing.
Yeah, absolutely. So, you touched on this a little bit here, and I kind of want to wrap with this question, but you had the opportunity to talk at CSM on magnetic marketing with Jimmy McKay, right? A PT Pinecast. Tell us a little bit about, your takeaway messages from that. What's some big summaries you're seeing nowadays? What's working with marketing in the world of healthcare and business in general?
Well, marketing has always been and always will be. Marketing's about relationships. And I think the more technology that comes along, the more we lose sight of that. The rules of relationship are not suspended in the digital world. Meaning, if you and I, spoke at, the conference, spoke at a party afterwards, I wouldn't then turn around just because I'm behind a computer screen and behind a messaging board, and all of a sudden, start saying, hey, Scott, appreciate you connecting with me. Hey, do you mind jumping on a 15-minute call? I'm sure you have nothing better to do than jump on a call with someone that you don't know that wants to sell you a bunch of crap to fill his cup and his financial thing. That happened to me today. And I guarantee it happens to everyone here day after day. So that is not about relationship. You see, AI is never going to take away the creative, innovative spirit, and it's never going to take away us and our ability to connect with one another, right? It might help automate some things and all that, but what we're looking for now, more than anything else, is authentic, genuine relationship. That makes you stand out. So whether you're speaking to referral sources and doctors, or perhaps non-doctors, or perhaps just someone that you meet in your neighborhood or at a basketball game or your kids' events, whatever it is, it's all about that. So that was the essence of the talk around magnetic marketing. So how do you create that message? And you create the message around getting people's attention. You see, marketing is all about creating awareness. If someone doesn't know you exist, how do they know to come to you? I mean, I used to say it, I should be so much busy. I can help so many people. It's like, yeah, but I didn't know you were here. That's what people said to me. So we have to understand of who is our audience, who is our avatar, who is our target, where is our target, where are they? Like, I'm not going to tell you how to market until you know where they are. Are they on Facebook? Are they at the gym? Are they a part of some group? You know, are they in a particular community? Are they at the YMCA? I mean, where is this group? And the other thing then becomes who who has influence over this group? This is the shortcut. The shortcut is yes, you can go one to one, and you should have that skill to be able to speak to someone and then come in as a patient. But the shortcut to that is developing a relationship with someone who has influence over your audience, which is why we like doctors, because they have influence over people and they're trained to refer. They're not the only people. So knowing who has influence over your market is really the key to developing a stream of referrals. So that was the essence of the magnetic marketing, is understanding your avatar, understanding their pain points, understanding their desires. How are you solving their solution? And then connecting with people that have influence over that market and learning how to collaborate and work with them.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like finding the moderator or the alpha mom in the soccer moms group on Facebook. You gotta have that person of influence and know how to create and really build that relationship and grow it. That makes a huge difference, and it makes things a whole lot easier when other people can speak to what you do
And,
and how
and
well you do it.
Scott, that's a skill.
Hmm.
We don't just naturally have it, it's a skill. Like listening, asking questions, building rapport, these are skills. Some people may have a little advantage over others just because they have a little bit more natural outgoing, but all of us can develop these skills because people do business with people they like, people they trust. Well, how do you build trust? You build trust through relationship over a period of time. And the more that someone trusts you that you have their best interests in mind, the more they want to work with you and the more they will buy from you versus just spitting out a bunch of facts about how smart you are or all this medical ease stuff, that medical jargon that nobody understands except us. That's not what's in best interest for them. So we have to show up for wherever they are. And I think too many times we'll go out to referral sources and doctors, and basically we're saying, please, oh, please send me people. Well, what's in it for them? I'll do a really good job. Well, so will everyone else. What separates you? What are you about? Who can you help better than anybody? So this is the stuff that, obviously I teach, my clients, and I teach them all of these other types of skills and how to think differently about their business, what then leads to just exponential results versus very small incremental, which you can easily get just by working harder.
Yeah, and I think, you're diversifying your skill sets by learning these things as well. So that kind of gives you that recession proof feeling, right? The more skill sets you have, the more you learn how to do this stuff, the easier it'll be to navigate tough times like a recession or a depression or whatever it may be, any sort of economic downturn. So, I totally
Anytime there's a
appreciate that.
downturn, there is basically going to be a redistribute to whatever the word is, of wealth.
Yeah.
So that means there are people going to create things that are going to become fantastically wealthy, and there's other people that are going to go broke. I think right now we're on the bubble. There's a lot of people right now making a lot of money doing things that really aren't, it's just lazy work. Like, I think there's a lot of marketers out there that are just doing lazy work that AI or something else is just going to be able to do. Um, there's going to be a with distribution.
Yeah, redistribution.
There you go. So, I think there's a lot of opportunity right there that if you can just dial in that genuine of helping others, but learning the craft of that, learning the craft of your business, not just the technical aspects of it. I think every single person has to do. I think, reading. I mean, obviously there's lots of courses out there. There's lots of things, but carving out that time to make this learning a never-ending journey of learning, but also learning things that are much more aligned in business of the craft.
Yeah. Well, Jamey, I can't thank you enough, man, for taking the time to come on and just talk about the basics of business and fundamentals and some marketing stuff. Where can people find you if they want to follow up and ask more about what you're up to and what you're able to help them with?
Yeah, I mean, you can go to practicefreedomu, the letter u.com. You can check me out there. You can shoot me an email if you like, Jamey at practicefreedomu. I did want to offer your people something that I spent a lot of time and energy creating. It's called Physio Connect. It's an app, and it's basically the best referral source networking building app there is. So my whole thing on relationship marketing and how I teach it and all that, the one thing I always struggled with is having something to coordinate all of this, having a tool to coordinate it. So I worked with an app company over the last 8 months now, and I developed something that is fairly easy to use. A lot of the stuff, a lot of the messaging and things are actually done for you. I've written the things for your audience. It takes the place of a landing page and an Evite and even some other like MailChimp and those kind of places, CRMs. And you can go to myphysioconnect.com. And Scott, here's the best part. Download it for free.
Awesome.
I don't make a dime. You don't need a credit card. It's just use it. Just use it and start building relationships with people. And I promise you, you're going to get referrals and you're going to open up a whole level of opportunity. So go to myphysioconnect.com, download the app for free, start using it.
Awesome. Yeah, we'll put all those links in the show notes so that you're easy to find and people can download that app. Jamey, absolute pleasure, man. I always love chatting with you. I look forward to doing it again in the future.
Thanks, man. Appreciate it, Scott.